Thank you, Steve. It's 5 o'clock in the east, and welcome once again to Long Pond, Pennsylvania, the Pocono Raceway. And just as Sprint Cup Series qualifying wrapped here at this 2.5-mile triangle, as you can see, the skies opened up, and we have lost the track here at Pocono as ARCA gets set to do battle for the 13th time in 2014. So good to have you with us on this Friday evening with Phil Parsons. I'm Adam Alexander. You do these ARCA races all the time. This is my first. This is quite a greeting you have for me. Rain here in Pocono, you know?
It's amazing. The Cup cars were barely even off the racetrack from qualifying, and in a downpour ensued. We could see it off of turn one and said it looks like it's raining over there. And then sure enough, we lost the racetrack in a matter of moments. But tough break for the ARCA guys. They were getting ready to get in their cars and get ready to start this thing, and now we have a bit of a delay.
Now, they did get qualifying in earlier today, an old familiar name right at the top of the board.
Yeah, Mason Mitchell. For the first time in 21 races, he did not finish in the top 10 at LOR last week. He had a rear end issue, but he's going to restart a string here. He had a great qualifying effort there for Mason Mitchell. Brand new race car for him, and on the pole with it.
Good for Mason Mitchell, not for others, including the rookie Carl Weber.
Yeah, Carl Weber just makes hard contact with a safer barrier here at Pocono Raceway over in turn number one. Fast speeds, upwards of 190 miles an hour at the end of the straightaway. He was probably running 160, 70 miles an hour there as he got ready to exit turn number one.
They did get the backup car out. Carl Weber will have to start at the rear of the field. Did the same thing here in June where he rallied to the front and finished in the 10th position. And that wasn't the only problem we had in qualifying today. John West Townley, one of the drivers running for the championship, running full-time this season, both in ARCA and the Camping World Truck Series, had to get away from him over in the tunnel turn.
You see John West at exit of the tunnel turn, one of the more difficult turns in all of motorsports there. You look straight at the wall as you enter turn number two, the tunnel turn, and unfortunately he got into the wall exiting the tunnel turn, went to the hospital in Allentown. They said everything's fine, but as we saw him come back to the racetrack, everything's fine, but they're going to hold him out this weekend.
Yeah, and when you say this weekend, that means he's not racing in the ARCA Racing Series event here today or the Camping World Truck Series race here tomorrow. For more on the developing stories, we send it down to pit road and say good afternoon to Jim Trado.
Likewise, Alex, we found cover underneath the pagoda here where the drivers are going to be introduced when we go racing. We have Justin Allison here who's very eager to get going because back here in June, Justin, you arguably had one of the fastest cars, and you backed that up yesterday in practice. How eager are you to get back here to the tricky triangle and see what that car can do when you're not stuck in fourth gear like you were in June?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. You know, our Havico sales forward's been good all weekend. And I really hope that, you know, we get the track dry and the weather stays out because, you know, I'm really looking forward to racing. Like you said, we had a good car here in June. And I definitely feel like we got a shot to win it tonight or tomorrow, whichever we end up racing. Hopefully it's tonight. But, you know, I'm really looking forward to it.
And when the name Allison speaks volumes, you also have that pressure of performing. This is the first time you're coming back to a racetrack at your limited schedule this year. What do you like most, and why is it taking so quickly to you and Pocono and getting around here so fast?
I don't know. I kind of take after from Uncle Bobby, I guess. My grandpa, this wasn't one of his favorite racetracks, but my Uncle Bobby loved it. And, you know, it's just like a giant short track. That's the way I look at it, and that's the way you got to race it, I think. And, you know, that's where most of my history's come yet. It's 2.5 miles, but, you know, no turns are the same, and it's not your average, you know, super speedway. So, you know, I definitely took to it pretty quick and feel very comfortable here. And then, you know, the second time back, I've already know what to expect. That way I'm not learning as I'm going, and I already know what to expect, and, you know, you can just go after it from the word go.
That's Justin Allison, scheduled to start 5th here in the race. He was second in practice yesterday. Only one driver was faster. Ray Dunlap.
And that would be Mason Mitchell. He is on the pole. You know, we were at Chicagoland, and you were at that point where you were like, man, I finished second 6 times. I got to get a win. You finally pulled it off. That was great. And then we go to LOR and you have trouble. How tough is it to balance all the emotions of this racing game?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so many highs and lows in this sport, but you know, unfortunately we had a mechanical breakdown there at Lucas Oil Raceway. It was looking like it was going to be another promising night, but that stuff happens in racing, and we have another really fast Musselman's applesauce Florida Wildlife Ford Fusion here today, and the guys worked so hard, put a bunch of all-nighters in to get up here, and it's proven to be fast, and I can't be happier with all the guys, and hopefully we get this race in.
The car that you have here, brand new to you guys, so how different is it from the one you used to win in Chicago?
It's a little bit different. All of our cars, you know, we've tried to build them as nice as we can, but this is definitely the nicest one we've built. We've had a little bit more time with it and the preparation with it, and just, you know, you always get, the more time you can spend, the little more detailed stuff you can work out, and it's proven to be really fast, and hopefully we can stay up there and contend for the win today.
All right, congratulations. He's on the pole. Very fast race car. That's Mason Mitchell.
Thank you, Ray. Looking for his second win of the season. Remember, he went to victory lane for the first time a couple of weeks ago at Chicagoland Speedway. So we had that shower, lost the track, but the Air Titan is out, and we are hopeful we can get this track dry and race in the ARCA Racing Series here this evening. In the meantime, we send you to Sprint Cup practice from earlier today. Enjoy, and we'll keep you posted from Pocono. Across 6 o'clock in the east, and it continues to be rain-free here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, as we try to go racing in the ModSpace 125 for the ARCA Racing Series on this Friday evening. And pretty amazing, Phil. An hour ago we went away, completely wet racetrack, and they have made a ton of progress here at this giant facility.
Adam, this is a 2.5-mile racetrack. They have a bunch of Air Titans out here along with jet dryers. As we take a look at the radar, that's where we are right there. If we can dodge that as it gets through there, then we're going to be okay here. But it's amazing the transformation this racetrack has made in the last hour.
Well, and the thing we should point out, this is a quick race. So if, in fact, we can get the track dry, get the cars on track, we can run this thing in a hurry. Only 50 laps here this evening.
Yeah, this race could run actually in about 45 minutes if we go caution-free, and that could happen here. So I think we're very optimistic here and thinking we can get this thing in. I believe we can.
73 degrees right now. The humidity is up, and for right now, the showers staying away as we send it to Ray Dunlap.
Thank you, Adam. I'm standing by with Grant Enfinger. 4 wins this season in the ARCA Racing Series, and after Indy, you took the point lead back over. Qualified 6th today. Were you happy with that?
I wasn't happy with our qualifying, no, but I'm very, very happy with the car. So I tried a little too hard in turn 2 during qualifying, but this is a really, really good driving car. So can't say enough about K-Site Motor Honey, Allegiant Travel, everybody that stepped up and made this deal happen. Assuming we get it in tonight, I feel like we got a shot at it.
How different will you expect the racetrack to be now that we had a good bit of rain?
It's different when we go in there after the Goodyear rubber. So it's just going to be a different kind of different, I think. But I think it's going to be really similar to how we started practice yesterday, so I don't think it's going to catch us too off guard. But it's just more and more variables, you know, more and more to play in the crew chief's hand. So I know Pickwood's got a strategy he's working on, but it constantly changes. So like we were just looking at the weather, hopefully we can get it in.
All right, 693 laps led this season. That's Grant Enfinger. Now let's check back in with Jim Trado.
And Ray, a driver tried to lead his first lap in his very first start. Starts on the front row here in the ModSpace 125. Brennan Poole, first time in the car this year, but you've got a fast car at Pocono. You love this place. Why?
Dude, this is my favorite track we go to. You know, it's just a lot of fun. It's fit me really well ever since I got on this place. So I'm real pumped. We got the Identical movie on the hood. Comes out September 5th. Blake Rain's here. It's been really cool. Heck, I ran identical times too in qualifying. So it's got to be a good omen, I guess. Other than this weather, hopefully get out here and kick some butt. The track's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be tough for all of us to handle. But as we lay some laps down, hopefully we'll keep that 66 out front and strong and put on a good showing for everyone.
You've won here just 2 years ago, and you've also spent a lot of time in the ARCA garage, most recently on the spotter stand. How geeked are you for this first of 4 opportunities in the 66 car?
I'm excited, you know, but I just got to go out there and take it one lap at a time. I feel really blessed to have this awesome opportunity with Venturini Motorsports, the Identical movie. Everybody involved in this program, it's been awesome. They've been a blessing to have to support me. I really appreciate it.
And he still holds the track qualifying record, guys, and he's won 3 times from the pole, actually once from the pole. Every time he's been here, he's been on the pole. He tied for the pole, but he'll start second due to owner's points by rule book, guys.
Starting right behind Mason Mitchell, who went out and put up a big number earlier today. Poole, Mitchell share row 1 as we look at our starting grid for the ModSpace 125.
What an outstanding start by Michael Lira back in row number 2 alongside Justin Boston.
See Grant Enfinger, championship leader, coming in. Starts on the outside of row 3, and right behind him, Matt Tift, who, if you go back to June, running second, got involved in an accident with Justin Boston. Didn't see the fruits of his labor, but he's a kid that's got a lot of talent. How about row 5, the veterans?
Yeah, we got Frank Kimmel, 2-time winner here at Pocono, along with Tom Hessert, who always runs well here at this racetrack.
Austin Wayne Self, one of the young stars of the ARCA Racing Series, going in row 6, and right behind him, another youngster in Cody Coughlin driving that 55.
See Tom Birdie, longtime competitor here in the series, back in row number 9.
Tom Birdie, 70 years old and still competing strong in the ARCA Racing Series.
70 years young.
Oh, okay, whichever you prefer. I guess when you're on your end of the ledger, that's the way you look at that, right?
That makes a lot. You see Carl Weber had that problem in qualifying, had to go to the backup car, but will start from the 14th row, and then he will have to go to the back because of the backup car.
And then notice in row 13, B.J. McLeod in the 15 car for John West Townley. Anxious to get going. Mason Mitchell already strapped in. Hopefully we get down to business after a break on Fox Sports 1.
It's a beautiful day to go racing here in the Pocono Mountains. Larson has absolutely dominated the day. Mitchell muscled him on that restart and is just checking out on him. And you know Larson's up on the wheel. He's giving it everything he's got. 3 to go here at the Tricky Triangle. Kyle's all over his back bumper. New leader here at Pocono, and Larson back to the front. The 34th different driver to win at Pocono, and it's Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson flat laid him on him here in June. He got after it, led a bunch of laps, and despite the fact that he was penalized, had to come down pit road, he rallied, got the win late over Mason Mitchell.
Yeah, and he's having a pretty good weekend here this weekend as well. Not running the ARCA race here today, but sitting on the pole, his first ever career pole for the Cup Series.
And he's also been quick in Camping World Truck Series practice. He's one of those drivers doing double duty this weekend. Joe Nemechek in that category, and fellow Rookie of the Year contender Austin Dillon also.
Great news. Those drivers have been called to their cars. You see Grant Enfinger there.
And you look out around the racetrack, Phil, and they spend a lot of time working here on the front straightaway. It's completely dry, and now the focus as far as track drying is concerned appears to be over between turns 1 and 2, the Long Pond straightaway here at Pocono.
Yeah, I think turn 3 looks good. Turn 1 looks good. As you mentioned, from the exit of turn 1 down to the tunnel turn, I think is where they're working. But right, I think they feel like they've got a handle on it and pretty close right now.
Now this track is going to be green when they start. Ray talked to Grant Enfinger about that earlier. I guess in a way that's kind of bad news for these guys, but keep in mind, their only practice session of the weekend, yesterday evening, about this time, and the track was green when they went out then. So they do have a little bit of a fair game plan as far as setting it up.
Yeah, I think so. And as a matter of fact, we heard, I think, Grant Enfinger talk about the fact that normally they will go on this racetrack on Goodyear rubber that was laid down by the Cup Series. So that will be washed away somewhat. So I think you're right. I think they're back like they were when they initially started practice yesterday.
I always think about how this track can change, but that's a NASCAR event, 400 miles, only 50 laps here today, Jim.
Quickly, we get a thought from Will Kimmel, who starts 7th in this number 69 Kimmel Racing Ford. Your thoughts now at the green racetrack, Will?
I don't know. I think it's pretty close to maybe what we had later on in the day in practice. So I'm pretty happy with our, Messina Circle Track Ford. I got to thank everybody on the crew for giving me a great car. And I kind of dropped the ball in qualifying. Just didn't get up on it like I needed to. Missed one pretty bad. So we're pretty good in race trim yesterday. I look forward to the race, and I want to get going.
Good luck on backing up that top 5 finish at Chicagoland. Will Kimmel about to climb in here from 7th.
And that's just what I was going to say, Jim. So good a couple of weeks ago was Will Kimmel, running a limited schedule, but every time he shows up, he has got what it takes to get it done. And speaking of having what it takes, Jimmy Johnson, for a jog on the infield here at Pocono, he needs to get back to the coach because we are just about ready to go racing in the ARCA Racing Series. Let's go trackside. Pre-race ceremonies about to happen for the ModSpace 125 here at Pocono.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise or remove your hats as the Pennsylvania State Police Color Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Father John Boyle offers our invocation.
Lord our God, we need to talk to you before we start our engine. We ask your blessing on what we are about to do. We give you all the credit, for it is only by your help and grace that we begin this race. We know that the tricky triangle lies before us, and we know it's uncertain. But we can face this challenge, Lord, and we ride with you. Prepare our hearts, our minds, and our souls, and keep us free from harm. Hold us safe, Lord. Bless all of our competition, our crews, our fans, and all of the people at the Pocono Raceway. We ask all this through Christ the Lord. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Corporal Ron Richards.
Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so bright
Marshal Ron Richards and his performance of our national anthem.
And with that, we are one step closer to racing here this afternoon in Pocono. And as we get ready to go green for the 13th time on the 2014 campaign, we look at the championship standings. Grant Enfinger came in 40 points out in front of Mason Mitchell, but that pole position makes it only 25 as we anticipate the green flag.
Yeah, the ARCA Racing Series awards points for qualifying, 15 for the pole, 10 for second, 5 for third. Mason Mitchell, by virtue of that pole, closes a gap to 25. Grant Enfinger started the year with 3 wins, had a huge point lead. Mason Mitchell kept working on it, finally took over the point lead, but lost it with his problem last week at LOR.
Had been in the top 10 in every race this year, coming off his first victory at Chicagoland a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, his streak dated back to last year, 20 top 10s in a row prior to last week.
And how about Grant Enfinger? He goes over it with a new team starting last weekend at Lucas Oil Raceway, finishes inside the top 5, and as you pointed out, due to Mason Mitchell's problems, Grant Enfinger enters the weekend as the championship leader. Let's go trackside now and get the command of fire engines at Pocono.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, local branch manager from ModSpace, John Penman. Drivers, start your engine!
Better late than never. About an hour behind schedule here at the Pocono Raceway. But we are set for the ARCA Racing Series to do battle here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
Jones may have won last week and win again in the ARCA Racing Series. But Grant Enfinger, top 5 finish, catapulted him back into the top spot in points, even with a new team. Can he pick up number 5 today in the Poconos? Enfinger, third Racing Series, is going to win it here. They race to decide the champion. The ARCA Racing Series returns for take 2 at the Tricky Triangle.
We talk about this being one of the most unique racetracks in all of America. 3 different distinct turns.
They call it the Tricky Triangle.
ARCA Racing from Pocono Raceway starts now.
For the 3rd time in 13 days, the ARCA Racing Series set to do battle. This evening, it's the ModSpace 125. 2nd time these cars have been to Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania in 2014. And there's a look at the drivers that will start out front. Mason Mitchell, who comes in trying to take over that point lead once again alongside Brennan Poole. More on them in a moment. First, what to watch for. This is a short race, only 50 laps. Strategy will be key. And we said it's an incredible championship battle. Changed hands last week. Grant Enfinger, top 5 run at Lucas Oil Raceway, back on top. 2 drivers certainly to watch here tonight will be he and Mason Mitchell, who starts on the pole. So, Phil, I just said it. It's a short race. Strategy going to be key. How do you manage this race?
Well, I think that's the thing that crew chiefs are going to have to decide. If they get a caution at lap 4 or 5, do they want to come in, go ahead and get their fuel? ARCA has a rule that you have to pit by lap number 40. Now, these crew chiefs may be keeping an eye on the sky and the radar and said, okay, this thing may not go the full distance, so do we want to stay out and hope it's going to rain? Then that pit by lap 40 goes out the window. So these crew chiefs had some tough decisions to make right now. But I think what I would want to do is come in, get my stop done early, make sure I'm in my window to make it to the 50 laps, and then have at it the rest of the way.
Tough decisions for the crew chief, tough competition on track. What drivers you got your eye on?
I tell you, I really like the way Grant Enfinger's run this entire season. What's amazing is that after winning the race, winning 4 races, he switched teams. There he is right there qualifying. Good run for him. Qualifies up in the 6th spot. A new team last week at LOR for Grant Enfinger, moves over to Gallagher Motorsports. But this young man here, Mason Mitchell, has been on a mission. As we mentioned, 20 top 10s in a row coming in here. They built a brand new race car. They said it's the best race car they've ever had in their shop, and he went out there and put it on the pole. And how about this Brennan Poole right here? This young man is making his first start of the 2014 season. He won here a couple years ago. Pocono. He made 5 starts last year in the series and won 2 of those. He's going to be a contender.
That win here a couple of years ago, one of the 5 he's had in his career at 5 different racetracks. Let's hear from our pit reporters one more time before we go green. We start with Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Adam. What a rich history this series has here at the Pocono Raceway. From 1987 forward, they've run 2 races every year. And this is the 60th event for the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. But what's really amazing is you look back, in the last 17 races, we've had 17 different winners here at Pocono. And there's an interesting list of those names. A lot of powerhouse names from NASCAR on there. And there's a number of other drivers that we didn't make on that list that have been very impressive too. Who can win today? Will it be someone other than Brennan Poole or Frank Kimmel? They want to extend that streak to 18 consecutive races with a different winner here at Pocono. Now let's check in with Jim Trado.
And one of the drivers high on that list is the guy who starts third in the number 25's Loop Toyota. That is Justin Boston. He was racing for third late in the race here back in June and had caught up in an accident. Let's go back 1 race, as a matter of fact, to Lucas Oil Raceway. This is Justin Boston leading the race. He took the lead from Mason Mitchell and was pulling away until misfortune struck. That's how his season has gone. He's been fast everywhere, but as he comes upon the spun car, Bobby Gerhart, he could not hear the radio communication with his team to clear him and get him slowed down. That cost him. He rallied back to 8th. However, today, a new ball game. They ended up changing the radio. They went through the entire system because the driver said, I flat out could not hear my spotter. Today, he's got tape over his earplugs. They tried a different helmet yesterday. I just leaned in on the cockpit of Justin Boston's car. He thinks he's got that cured. He wants to hear every word his spotter says today. That is what may have cost him his 2nd victory. It may come today, though. This Toyota has been really fast for Justin Boston and his crew chief, Billy Venturini.
It was so good in qualifying earlier today. He's going to start in the 3rd position right behind our Menards pole winner. This week, the award goes to Mason Mitchell, who was bad fast here earlier today in qualifying.
Yeah, how about outstanding job here. Again, brand new race car for this team. There he is, Mason Mitchell, trying to get that point lead back. Justin Boston, the 25 car, will start right behind him. And ironically, it was Justin Boston's spotter that will be starting on the outside of the front row, Brennan Poole. Wasn't Brennan Poole's fault, certainly. They had radio communications issues.
But a great story is Brennan Poole. Been running in the ARCA Racing Series. His funding had gone away, but he continued to work in the race shop over at Venturini Motorsports, trying to stay in the game. You mentioned the fact that he was spotting for Justin Boston, doing anything he could to be around the racetrack, gets his first opportunity to come back here in 2014, puts it on the front row, and no doubt he's one of the favorites to have a chance to go out and get the victory here today. Ray was talking about the great history for ARCA here at Pocono. It all happened starting back in 1969 when they actually ran the 3/4 track here. Then they went away, came back, started running the big 2.5 mile facility in 1983. Been coming back ever since.
Yeah, 69 was before they actually were done with a 2.5 mile trial. My brother Benny was in that first ARCA race back in 1969.
And now our Scott Brand's rookie spotlight, and that goes to the 3 car of Carl Weber, and he had a rookie moment earlier today. Carl out of Ambia, Indiana, little rural town over west of Lafayette, has done a great job coming up from the go-kart ranks. He's a youngster, only 17 years old. Top 10 finish when we came here earlier this season, but unfortunately didn't work out for him in qualifying this afternoon.
Yeah, pretty significant contact here. Here he is at the exit of turn number 1, probably running 160 miles an hour, maybe upwards of that. Hard into the outside safer barrier, but fortunately his guys got the backup car out, as you see that contact from that angle.
Saw Carl after the accident. The crew was working on getting that backup car ready, and he was hanging right there with him. And that is the nature of the beast when it comes to ARCA racing. You look at Carl Weber at 16 years old, and certainly he's climbing the ladder of success. But if you're going to have success in ARCA, you got to play every role, and Carl Weber certainly fits that mold. Look at our onboards. We start with Ed Pompa.
Yeah, we're going to ride along with Ed Pompa. That's the Milwaukee Crusher Company Chevy. He was 15th here in June, and he will start from the 20th spot.
And we'll also go on board today with the 55 car of Cody Coughlin. Cody starting in the 13th position, and 2 weeks ago got his career best finish, a top 5 run at Chicagoland Speedway.
Excellent. Let's also ride along with Austin Wayne Self. He was the runner-up at LOR last weekend. He will start as AM Technical Solutions Dodge from the 11th spot.
And we'll talk a lot in tonight's race about Grant Enfinger. He rolls off in the 6th position, but the Alabama native comes in leading the championship. Outside of row 3, no doubt he will be a threat to get it done.
We'll also ride along with our Toledo winner, Justin Boston. We talked about the tough break last week at LOR. He will start his Luke Toyota from the 3rd spot.
And we have an onboard camera with our pole sitter. Mason Mitchell comes in 2nd in the championship, 25 points behind Grant Enfinger. First career win coming 2 weeks ago at Chicago. We had to wait about an hour, but it's time now to go racing in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. 13th race of the campaign underway at Pocono for the ARCA cars.
Dead even as they enter turn number 1.
And we all know how big track position is here at Pocono. Into 1, Mason Mitchell gets the top spot. Brennan Poole slides in right behind him. Justin Boston goes 3rd.
And Michael Lear, that 68 car, ooh, a little bit sideways off for turn 1. He runs 4th.
Do you change the way you run the early portion of the race, Phil, knowing that rain is in the area?
I think so. I think you hold nothing back. Try to get to the front if you can, knowing this race could be a 26-lap race.
Justin Allison jumps up to the 4th position, running in that 88 car. You saw Michael Lear right behind him, and there's the team car, the 69 of Will Kimmel, inside of his Uncle Frank. That's a great battle.
Yeah, Frank had a little bit of an issue off of turn number 1. Stalled his momentum just a little bit. Will's going to take advantage of that and take over that spot.
So the opening lap complete here at Pocono. Mason Mitchell, Brennan Poole, Justin Boston, Justin Allison, and Michael Lear are the top 5.
There's a good shot of Matt Tiff, that 52 car, Federated Auto Parts car of Kenny Schrader. Matt's doing an outstanding job this year. Ooh, sideways off of turn 1 that time, though.
For Tiff, this is his 7th race of the year. Finished 6th or better in 5 of the first 6, I should say. But how about this? 19th here at Pocono when he was running in the 2nd position. He no doubt has what it takes.
Yeah, without a doubt, he could have all top 6 finishes here. Had a great run going. Here's Will Kimmel. Moves to the inside of Matt Tiff. That is a battle for the 7th spot.
Kimmel, so good a couple of weeks ago, as Jim alluded to earlier, at Chicago. Runs a limited schedule. Father Bill runs the race team, crew chiefing for him today. Tight racing early here at Pocono as we complete our 2nd lap. And when they head down this long front straightaway, they will fan out, get 2, 3, sometimes even 4 wide. But look at the 15 car. If you didn't hear us earlier, John West Townley crashed in practice, was taken to a local hospital. He has returned and is okay, but will not race this weekend, either in the ARCA race or the Camping World Truck Series race tomorrow. B.J. McLeod jumped in the car, crew chief for Venturini, and trying to help out getting this car on track. It is a backup machine.
Great news, though, for John West Townley. The fact he's not injured. They took him to Allentown for precautionary measures and said, you're going to be fine, but we're going to hold you out for 7 days.
See Frank Kimmel there, able to get around the 52 car of Matt Tiff. And they ride behind Will Kimmel, who also was involved in that situation a moment ago, but he's been able to pull away from them. Will Kimmel running up in the 6th position as we go to Ray.
It's a race car that Wintron Racing used in both events here at the race a year ago and had good finishes with it. But in the early laps, they were seeing some smoke from that left rear quarter panel. Frank said, I think once the tire pressures come up, we should be okay. But in the first 3 or 4 laps, they were a bit concerned.
And their leader, Ray, Brennan Poole, able to take the top spot away from Mason Mitchell. As you see bottom left of your screen, what Ray was talking about on the 44 of Frank Kimmel.
Yeah, we saw some sparks and some fire. And I wonder if that looks like it may be, is that coming from the fuel opening or whatever? Maybe that a little bit of a leak there, maybe an O-ring gone bad on the fuel filler for Frank. But meanwhile, how about Brennan Poole here?
Made that power move heading down the straightaway, able to get around Mason Mitchell. And you see Justin Boston lurking behind in the 3rd position. 4th right now, Justin Allison. Grant Enfinger, who started 6th, up to 5th in the early going.
We talk about Brennan Poole and the fact this is his first start this year, and you know how well that young man wants to do. He made the most of his limited number of starts last year. Only had 5, but always in the top 5, a couple wins. He is on a mission.
See Frank Kimmel here, and you continue to see the flames coming out of that race car, and you hope it all stays together for Frank as we get caution on track for the first time today.
Ooh, Matt Tiff sideways, going to try to make a run underneath the 68 of Michael Lear. Got sideways.
Talking about Frank Kimmel, though, got a new crew chief last week, finished third at Lucas Oil Raceway. And this the reason for the caution, the 48 of Brad Smith. It was back in the 25th position.
Yeah, some sort of an issue for Brad driving the James Hilton car. Here's Tom Birdie, the 20 car. You see Tom out of shape there. Actually, it doesn't spin, gets completely sideways and drives across right in front of the 48 car. And you can see the damage to the left rear quarter panel of the 48 of Brad Smith.
We'll step aside. 4 laps complete here at Pocono. Brennan Poole leads the way in the ModSpace 125 here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Back live on a Friday evening on Fox Sports 1. It's the Pocono Raceway, the 13th race of the year for the ARCA Racing Series. 6 of 50 laps complete in the ModSpace 125. Under caution for the first time today. And Ray, we had a taker on pit road.
Hey, why not gamble a little bit? I'll tell you what, Adam, these guys, they're thinking there might be some strategy involved for Tom Hessert. Lap number 6, they come down and put fuel in that thing. We were expecting that everybody needed to go 10 or 11 laps to be able to get in their fuel window to go all 50. But this gives them options. If it were to rain and we don't get halfway in this race and they would have to postpone it, these guys have already made a pit stop and they think maybe, just maybe, he can milk the fuel mileage and make it all the way from here.
And Ray, there is a report that you put on your rain shoes, which ensures we will get no more precipitation. Is that accurate?
Absolutely true.
We appreciate you being a team player.
I think a good call, though, by Tom Hessert's team to bring him in. Also had a pretty significant chassis adjustment as well. Looked like maybe that car wasn't handling to his liking. But as Ray said, he's in his window now, I think. 40 to 45 laps is a pit window for these ARCA cars.
It's not easy to manage strategy. Then you throw in the rain. It's tough. We're coming back after a break. First, a Fox Sports Live news update with Jenny Tabb. Under caution here at Pocono, so we remind you what's happening tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. Here at Pocono, all about the Camping World Truck Series. 10 a.m. we go qualifying. The setup happens at 12:30, and at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the Pocono Mountains 150. Phil, you will be in the booth with Michael Waltrip and Steve Burns. Always entertaining when the trucks go anywhere, and should be a lot of fun here tomorrow.
Yeah, last couple of years, this race has only been 50 a lap, like this ARCA Racing Series event. We've added 10 laps to that, and that puts them right at the window where they maybe can make it on one stop and maybe not. So a lot of strategy going on in the Truck Series garage.
So if you're joining us on this Friday evening and you said, why is ARCA on? We had about an hour delay because of rain, and this the reason we are under caution right now.
Yeah, that's the 40 car right there, Evan Pardo. You see him obviously losing an engine over here in turn number 3. Not a whole lot of smoke, but nonetheless. And there's Kyle Martell getting a little bit loose in that 43 car. Then Tom Birdie's going to come along. You see other cars, that's Bill Catania, the 18 car, going way wide as he got into that fluid. But here Tom Birdie gets into the fluid and gets turned around here, but then turns dead left right in front of Brad Smith. And in trying to avoid Tom Birdie, Brad Smith gets into the outside wall.
And there you saw top right of your screen, one car into the wall, and there's the spin for the 48. And after all that, more pit stops. The 69 Will Kimmel on pit road, Ray.
No tires, no adjustments, just fuel. This is lap number 9, and they believe that they are in the window now. We saw 86 of Brandon Igdalski also coming down to get a little bit of fuel. So these guys are thinking that if this thing goes all the way the distance to 50, they're set. If we don't get to halfway and we got to run tomorrow, they're still set.
So they're not really looking at the radar in making these decisions, Ray. They're just playing their hand either way. Is that what we're thinking at this stage of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And the bottom line here is a lot of the people that are staying out are thinking they're not going to pit now till we get to near lap 40.
9 of 50 laps complete. Brennan Poole, Mason Mitchell, Justin Boston, Justin Allison, Grant Infinger, the top 5 here at Pocono. We are 1 lap away from going green in the ModSpace 125 here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania with Phil Parsons. I'm Adam Alexander. Ray Dunlap, Jim Trado with us on pit road. Mason Mitchell came in second in the championship, won the pole here earlier today, led the first 3 laps. Brennan Poole took over the top spot. He will be the race leader when the green flag goes back in the air in the last I don't know, 7 laps, I guess, have been under caution. So we really have not had an opportunity to see what everyone has. The one thing we can confirm, though, Brennan Poole's got a really good race car.
He certainly does. I think Mason Mitchell would love to have led this entire race here, but Brennan Poole chased him down and was able to get by him before the caution flag came out. What I really want to watch is the fact that we've had a couple cars come in and top off here with one to go. Nick Galski in the 86 car, who always runs well. It never seems to have any luck, but runs well here. Has had top 5 runs going and didn't get the finish he deserved, and Tom Hessert both topped off. So I think both of those cars and drivers and teams are in their window to make this thing if they go the rest of the way. Now, if this thing runs green the rest of the way, these guys are going to have to pit under green. Everybody that did not come down pit road because they have to stop by lap 40.
And that's not a Pocono rule. That's an ARCA rule. You always have to make 1 pit stop prior to 10 laps to go in the event.
Yep, that's exactly right. And they will hold them to it. Now, if it rains at lap 30 and we don't get to restart, then that goes out the window. But if we're running at lap 40, even if it's under caution, they will have to have pit. And the penalty for not pitting by lap 40 is 5 laps.
It's not going to work out for you.
Not that well, no.
So Brennan Poole, the race leader, as we get set for the restart. Mason Mitchell will start alongside. Mitchell used the inside lane as the pole sitter at the start of the race. And as we get this restart, completing lap 12, Brennan Poole also has selected that inside lane. You feel good about that, Phil?
I do, because he's in control of the restart here. He was able to hang right with Mason Mitchell through turn 1 on the initial start. See him trying to clean their tires off a little bit. They went through some speedy dry over there in turn 3.
Justin Boston, Justin Allison in row 2 as the green flag's back in the air. Frank Kimmel worked his way up to the 6th position on the restart, outside of Michael Lear, who's running up there.
Dead even here at the exit turn number 1. Brennan Poole on the inside, Mason Mitchell on the outside.
I said Michael Lear. Grant Enfinger finds himself up there running with Kimmel. He's gotten around him side by side there. The battle you talked about. Justin Boston, Justin Allison racing for position.
Down into the tunnel turn side by side. Used to never go through the tunnel turn side by side.
On board with our championship leader. Grant Enfinger has a front row seat for it all.
These guys feel a sense of urgency. And around he goes.
Trouble over in the corner. Grant Enfinger involved. Frank Kimmel gets a piece of the action. They came in 1st and 3rd in points, and big trouble here 13 laps in at Pocono.
Matt Tifft also gets involved here. Look at all the damage to Grant Enfinger's car, as well as that 44 of Frank Kimmel.
3 cars that had a legitimate shot to win here today. Tifft, Enfinger, and of course the veteran Frank Kimmel. And for Enfinger, big damage on that 90.
Yeah, that car will definitely be terminal. You see Frank is able to drive away. A lot of damage, though, to that Menards Toyota. We were riding along with Grant Enfinger, and everything seemed fine, and around he went.
Only 1 finish this season outside the top 10 for Grant Enfinger. That was a 12th at Toledo. And there's the other driver involved, Matt Tifft. You see damage to the right front of that 52 car.
You mentioned how good he was back here in June, racing up in the top 3 positions. Got taken out in a wreck. He and Justin Boston, the 25 car. Look at all the damage to the right side of Frank Kimmel's car.
You and I had talked off the top about the opportunity to go patient, knowing there's weather in the area. How are you going to manage this race? 2 cautions early, and the second for an accident over off the corner.
You see Frank Kimmel drove down in the corner. I don't think Grant Enfinger realized he was there. He squeezed Frank down. Frank got down as low as he could go. The 52 of Matt Tifft, just an innocent bystander. You see Frank down there all the way with the left sides below the yellow line, and Grant came down.
And look at some of the drivers that just sneaked through, avoiding the accident.
This is a view we had initially. We're riding along here with, see how low he is, and Frank was down there below him. I don't think Grant realized that Frank Kimmel had driven to the outside. We talk about being patient. These guys felt like it's time to go here. This race could only go to about 25 or 26 laps.
And one of the drivers that got through all that, the 69 of Will Kimmel, who is 8th, despite the fact he's already made his pit stop, Phil. That's big.
Yeah, and these caution laps are just going to help that fuel mileage situation. So I believe that the guys that pitted under that most recent caution are good to go to the very end here.
And this, you would think, will be somewhat of an extended caution because the amount of the cleanup that's going to take place. Here comes the 10-time champion, Frank Kimmel, Ray.
Well, and they have to assess the damage on this Menards Toyota. We know that the right front quarter panel is going to have to definitely be pulled out all the way around the wheel. Mark Rett says, let me give you directions, guys. Get over there. We're going to put 4 tires on it for sure, but they're not sure about the left side damage. It looks like the left quarter panel on the front is equally as bad. Left rear, not quite as bad. They're able to put Sunoco fuel in it, and they will get 4 tires on here. But the most important part is get the fenders pulled back out, and they will be able to return to the racetrack, no question about it. The left front is going to need some bear bond on it for sure, as you can see crew members pulling on that, but they'll work on it and they'll get him back out.
At the green flag today, Mason Mitchell was 25 points out of the championship lead behind that guy, Grant Enfinger, and he gained 15 points by winning the pole. We're, for the second consecutive week, going to have another big shakeup in the championship.
Yeah, it could be huge if Mason Mitchell goes ahead and finishes this race somewhere in the top 3 or 4. He could find himself with close to a 100-point lead leaving here.
Under caution for the second time today, and here's the reason why. Brennan Poole, your race leader at Pocono. Under caution for the second time today here at Pocono Raceway. The ARCA Racing Series competing for the 13th time in 2014. 16 laps complete of the 50 that make up the ModSpace 125. 11 of those under caution, and this one could be costly for some drivers that are running for a championship. Let's get the latest on the repairs to Ray Dunlap.
Well, back to Frank Kimmel here. The problem was they put brand new Hoosier tires on this just to try not to lose a lap, and they went around the racetrack and blew out both of the front tires. So now they need to clearance these fenders, and they're down to their final set. So they need to make sure no matter what they get it right. Now he has gone 1 lap down as the field went by. They're hoping to make it only 1 lap down and see if he can get back into this race, but they've got to do it this time. Now they're going to try to just cut the fenders away.
So the reason for our second caution of the day, an incident coming off the tunnel turn 2, the 90 of Grant Enfinger, your championship leader. Kimmel third in the championship. Contact as they escape the corner.
Yeah, Frank Kimmel had a great run. He pulled up to the door of Grant Enfinger. I'm sure Grant did not realize he was there. Don't know if the spotter told him or not, but Frank is there. And Grant Enfinger didn't realize it forced Frank down into the grass. They made contact and around they went. Matt Tiff, the 52, was an innocent bystander, got caught up against the outside wall.
Great battle in front of him for third. That's Justin Boston. Justin Allison is your on board with Enfinger. Contact, and he goes around.
You heard the throttle hang wide open there as he hit the outside wall.
Do you know, the MO, ironically enough, on Grant Enfinger, he doesn't have big accidents. He finishes races.
Absolutely. Very, very rarely does something like this happen. But I think it was just a mistake. Did not realize that Frank was there. Maybe didn't get a heads up from the spotter as well. But, you know, Frank he was all the way up to the door of Grant Enfinger as they drove down in the corner, because he knows that we're running out of time here. You can see the 3 cars involved, Frank Kimmel, Grant Enfinger, and again, Matt Tiff, an innocent bystander, got involved as well.
And I think we said this earlier, but Matt Tiff running for second here in June with Justin Boston. They got together, he crashed. Second time in his many trips to Pocono this season, Matt Tiff has suffered disappointment. Under caution at lap 17. So 24 hours ago, the smoke had just settled on a very busy trade deadline day in Major League Baseball. Now we're back at it on the field. 3 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. One of the great rivalries in all of sports, the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox. You can see it live on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
You know the Tigers have the last 3 Cy Young winners now on their staff.
I know this. They traded a guy that was in the game. He had to be called off the field. Very interesting. Let's go to Jim Trado.
And thankfully, Grant Enfinger's out of the care center, but what a huge blow in more than one way. What did happen on the racetrack, Grant?
You know, Crazy called me inside, but I had just committed to the bottom. And me and Frank, we got a lot of respect for each other. We've raced each other a long time, so this is our first incident. I know he didn't mean to do it, and I didn't mean to do it either. So I hadn't seen the replay or anything. Just, I mean, we're racing, you know, and everybody's going as hard as they can because we don't know when they're going to call for weather. Just unfortunate for everybody at GMS Racing. This was a really, really fast race car, and I tore it up. But I appreciate everybody at K-Site Motor Honey, Allegiant Travel, Worth USA, Franklin Fasteners, everybody that's put this deal together. So now we got some more work to do.
And a championship is still in sight for this young man, but more to climb here from this accident that takes him out early.
Yeah, very disappointing day for Grant Enfinger. And now, as Jim points out, it's so much easier to play from ahead than play from behind. And Enfinger now going to be with an uphill climb to get after Mason Mitchell, who restarts on the outside of Brendan Poole. Green flag back in the air. We complete lap 19.
Justin Allison gave up the 3rd position to come to pit road, so some strategy there.
How about Cody Coughlin running up inside the top 10, and the youngster Austin Wayne Self in the top 5 as well. Outside lane prevails. Mason Mitchell to the point.
Strong power move from the outside for Mason Mitchell. Takes over that lead from Brendan Poole.
Justin Boston able to settle into the 3rd position. You saw Cody Coughlin there, and there's the 44 of Frank Kimmel. Damaged it off the pace as he comes down that Long Pond straightaway.
See Tom Hessert right there. Remember, Tom pitted on the caution around lap 10. He has enough fuel to get to the end. It's actually a little bit brighter right now, Adam, than it was a few moments ago outside.
Well, and we heard on one of the scanners here during one of our commercial breaks that some of this weather is actually starting to skirt to the east, so maybe we'll be okay. We'll continue to keep our eye on the radar as we put 20 laps on the board. Mason Mitchell in front of Brendan Poole, but we got a good race going into turn 1. Poole to the inside.
We saw Mason Mitchell snake down the front straightaway, trying to break the draft on Brendan Poole. Wasn't able to do it. Brendan actually made the move to the inside, not able to make it work this time, though.
Mason Mitchell had the power move on the outside coming on the restart. Brendan Poole looked to the outside of Mitchell there, not going to make it happen as they scoot across the tunnel turn.
We've completed 20 laps. Everyone's going to have an eye on the scoreboard now. Once we get to 25, then they know it's an official race. If the driver gets any kind of moisture on the windshield, then he's going to be on it.
Yeah. And if you're leading, once you get past halfway and you get moisture on the windshield,
it's pouring out here.
You're going to be crying.
Pouring.
We need to throw the caution. It's raining.
Here's Mason Mitchell in that Ford power leading the Toyota power of Brendan Poole. You see the 25 of Justin Boston right there hanging in there in 3rd. How about Brendan Poole now going to the outside?
Kind of like the move that Mitchell made on the restart, but not going to be able to make it happen as they come off of turn 1. And as these two continue to jockey for position, look who's waiting in the wings, the 25 of Justin Boston.
We talked about the fact that he was very, very good here in June. There's Justin Boston going to ride along in that Zloop Toyota. See single file there through the tunnel turn. At least that's the old way to do it, single file.
Justin Boston, fastest car on that last lap. Won earlier this season at Toledo, and if not for some early season problems, he could be another driver we're talking about in the mix for a championship. Maybe a guy we're talking about for a win today. He is right there behind the top 2.
We saw Brendan Poole get down a little bit too low. He got his left sides down below the yellow line, actually got a little bit loose, but he's regained what he lost to our leader Mason Mitchell right now. But Justin Boston is right there.
A great 3-way battle for the lead here at Pocono. Mason Mitchell, who started on the pole and likely will take over the championship lead today out front. Brendan Poole running for the first time this season right behind him, joined him on the front row at the beginning of the race. And Justin Boston right in their hip pocket as they cross over the tunnel turn one more time.
We saw Brendan Poole take the lead earlier on. Lost the lead on the restart to Mason Mitchell. It looks like that Clean Air is agreeing with that 98 car of Mason Mitchell.
And that's one of the reasons that we said earlier, where you qualify, so important. Track position, such a big deal at Pocono. It's just so tough to pass because the leader has such an advantage with that Clean Air. Look at Justin Boston. Looked like he had a run on the outside of Brendan Poole for second as they work around a lap machine. 23 laps complete now at Pocono.
Mason Mitchell drove down to get a little bit of draft off that lap machine and then pulled back out to the outside wall to make his entrance into turn 1. It looks like Brendan Poole is a little bit tight off of turn number 1. He seems to lose a little bit of ground to our leader Mason Mitchell on exit of number 1.
Austin Wayne Self, one of the youngsters in the series, is up to 4th. Cody Coughlin has slid back to 5th. And give a call to Michael Lear, qualified inside the top 5 today. He's running 6th. He stayed up there all afternoon long.
Yes, 7th is his career best. He did that at Salem, Indiana last year.
Tom Hessert, one of the drivers that came to pit road earlier, has worked his way back into the top 10. And Justin Allison, who came down pit road under that last caution, has already worked his way back up to 9th. As we continue to watch the battle for the race lead, it's on. Brennan Poole looking to the outside of Mason Mitchell, and Justin Boston hanging right behind him. He looked at the outside, a little crossover to Warren.
Brennan Poole's going to look to the inside. Now he's got a nose up alongside of Mason Mitchell, going for the lead.
And perhaps a little draft help from Justin Boston, giving him a push. New race leader at Pocono. Brennan Poole out front, and he's taking Justin Boston with him.
The Venturini guys like that. Now Venturini Motorsports 1-2.
So now Mason Mitchell has to figure out how to play the game from behind. He had been out front. Now can he use the draft, try to swing back around these two?
And I think in the back of their mind, these teams have to realize, hey, if this thing keeps going green, we're going to have to make a green flag pit stop here in the next 16 laps.
25 laps complete, halfway in the ModSpace 125 at Pocono.
See back here, there's just passing the start-finish line. That's Austin Wayne Self, runner-up last year. Right now running in the 4th spot. Cody Coughlin doing a nice job in 5th. And Michael Lear looks to the inside of Cody Coughlin.
And there's contact. Lear makes the pass. Cody Coughlin loosens up, and that opens the door for the team car. Will Kimmel in that 69. He may get both of them as they go off turn 1.
Remember, Will Kimmel also came down pit road on lap number 9. So right now he is the leader of the cars that have been on pit road.
And Will Kimmel has never won a race in the ARCA Racing Series. Has watched Uncle Frank win all those championships. Been around this sport forever. Perhaps today is his day. He moves himself inside the top 5. And as you said, Phil, everyone going to have to pit. If we don't get rain, he could be in the catbird seat.
There's that side-by-side battle for the 6th spot. Cody Coughlin looks like he's going to get it in that Jegs Toyota. Michael Lear now back to 7th.
Well, and Michael Lear has got that damage on the right front, and I'm wondering what that's going to do aerodynamically to his race car.
Yeah, you talk about speeds upwards of 190 miles an hour on the straightaway. Aerodynamics certainly come into play. Looks like he's going after Cody Coughlin again, not able to make the move this time.
And it may not be long before we're talking about Carl Weber, the rookie out of Western Indiana, wrecked his primary car today, goes to a backup and is rallied to the front. He's in the 11th position.
Here's that move by Michael Lear to the inside of Cody Coughlin as they get down to turn number 1. As Cody makes his turn in, Michael Lear is there. They make contact. Both drivers do a nice job saving those cars.
And so far, everyone soldiers on. So for a moment, things have calmed down. If you're just joining us on this Friday evening, we went green about an hour late for the ARCA Racing Series, the ModSpace 125 here at Pocono. A 50-lap event that was slowed by caution twice in the early going. But since we returned to action, it has been great racing. And right now, it's Brennan Poole who shows the way. Justin Boston right behind him. Mason Mitchell is 3rd. 27 laps complete here at Pocono. 20 laps to go in the ModSpace 125 here at Pocono. 30 of the 50 complete. Brennan Poole continues to lead. You're on board with Justin Boston, who's 2nd right now. Mason Mitchell, our pole sitter, is 3rd. Austin Wayne Self is 4th. And the 5th position is Will Kimmel. And as we continue to watch the action on track, we talk off track for a moment. A very big announcement that could really do wonderful things for this series in the future came today here at Pocono.
Yeah, it certainly did. And I think really it's what's going to propel the ARCA Racing Series, who is over 60 years old, into the next 5, 10, even 15 years. They announced that Ilmor, longtime IndyCar engine builder, will build an ARCA spec. That's not really a spec, an ARCA Ilmor 396 is what they're going to call it. It's an engine that's purpose-built for the ARCA Racing Series, 396 cubic inches, 700 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque, and that engine will cost $35,000, brand spanking new, and that comes with a Holley throttle body that will be fuel injected. It will be able to run an ECU just like the Cup cars, as we see. Watch Justin Boston continue to circulate around here in the 2nd spot. And the thing is, that engine will be good for 1,500 miles, Adam, before they have to rebuild that engine. So I think it's a step in the right direction. It's something that is going to make it more affordable for these competitors. And it's again, that's the wave of the future. And I think it's a great move by ARCA at this time. And special thanks certainly to Ilmor and Holley for the guys who are going to put these pieces together.
Doesn't matter if you're running a Sprint Cup team or you're running a dirt modified on a part-time basis. Financing always important, and ARCA trying to stay in front of it, help the teams in the series. A great announcement early today, and we certainly hope it pays big dividends as time goes on. Good battle here for the 8th position. That's Tom Hessert in the 77, the veteran that won earlier this season at Talladega, getting around Michael Lear in the 68.
Remember, Tom Hessert's one of those guys that has been to pit road. He's got his stop in. Remember, guys, we're only 8 laps away from lap 40. Right now, our top 4 running cars, Brennan Poole, Justin Boston, Mason Mitchell, Austin Wayne Self, know they have to come to pit road within the next 8 laps here, as long as we stay dry, no rain.
And that would mean the battle for the lead would be between Will Kimmel, who right now has scored 5th. He came down pit road at lap 9. I would say he's close on fuel, but should be fine with the caution laps we've gotten. And without question, Justin Allison, who right now is in the 6th position, came down at lap 18. He's definitely good to go on fuel. And when you look at the lap times right now, Allison is quicker.
He certainly is, right? He was about 4 seconds behind Will Kimmel several laps ago. Right now, he's made his way into within 1 second behind Will Kimmel. So that could be the battle for the eventual winner here.
Brennan Poole, the race leader, but he'll likely be on pit road when we return to Pocono. The stock car fun continues tomorrow here at Pocono. It's just trucks on track. The tailgaters doing battle for the 11th time in 2014, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time to set up. Race coverage begins at 1. Steve Burns, Michael Waltrip, Phil Parsons have the call live from Pocono. You can see it on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
How about this battle right here? Justin Allison's going to take over that spot from Will Kimmel. This is the top running cars that have already been to pit road. They get by the 22 of Austin Wayne Self. He still has to come to pit road. Right now, Justin Allison could be in the driver's seat.
Allison moves himself up to 4th on track, but where this gets really big is when everyone else makes their pit stops, and they've got to do it now at the next 4 laps. It'll put Allison in the race lead, and what would be running second right behind him here, the 69 of Will Kimmel, who's not given up yet.
If this race stays green, this is the battle for the win right here with the 88 of Justin Allison, the 69 of Will Kimmel. Both drivers looking for career win number 1.
I never would have believed we would get this race in. When we came on the air at 5 p.m. Eastern time, a huge thunder shower overshadowed Pocono Raceway, but we got the track dry very quickly, went green an hour late, and we have been in for a very good treat here on this Friday night from Pocono.
Remember, this 88 team, that's Howard Bixman that owns this car. He also owned Grant Enfinger's car till a week ago, so that team has already gotten 4 wins this year with Grant Enfinger. Now looking for number 5 with Justin Allison, again with 3 laps to that 40-lap mark.
And for Justin Allison, this is his 8th race of 2014. 2 top 5s, one of them here at Pocono all the way back in June. He followed it up the next week with his best career run, a 3rd place finish in Michigan. Boy, he'd love to climb to the top of the pylon today, and he's only 12 laps away from seeing the checkered flag for the first time. And we got pit stops. Justin Boston coming down. Jim?
Boston's a lap earlier than his teammate. He's been reminded we're going fuel only, keep it straight. The tear off on the windscreen is all they're going to do and add fuel. The circle fuel's in. He's also been reminded by his crew chief, Billy Venturini, do not go above that white line on exit in turn number 1. That's a huge deal there. Ray?
Mason Mitchell's Thermal Technologies Ford was really tight. They're going to go up 1.5 rounds on the track bar. That'll loosen up his race car. He said it was getting worse as the run went on. They'll put Sunoco fuel in. You notice no tires on the 98, just fuel only.
Yeah, they stayed a long time. Looked like they stayed to put 1 full can in. Didn't need to stay that long.
And now Brennan Poole, who today has led 30 laps, comes down pit road for their service with 12 to go, Jim.
They have to come down now. His crew chief, Jeff McClure, said make sure you do not slide your tires coming into your pit box. It's fuel only for the identical Toyota for Brennan Poole, a race leader. He's in, the grill's been cleaned, the windscreen's been touched. No tires at all, just fuel long enough to get Poole in and gone, get to the middle of pit road.
And as he exits, you see the 3 car of Carl Weber coming to the pit lane. Crashed his primary earlier today in qualifying. Worked his way up nearly to the top 10, and he also has to make a green flag pit stop here. 11 laps to go, and these are now the two drivers out front. Justin Allison, right behind him, Will Kimmel.
Just as we talked about, once this pit stop cycle was going to be complete, that these two guys would be racing for the lead and potentially the win. Right now, these guys would love to settle among themselves. No caution flags to bring those other cars back into play because they're still on the lead lap.
Justin Allison was 18 seconds behind the leader. Now he's on point with 11 to go at Pocono. Start finish line this time. It will be 7 laps remaining. Here's the battle for the lead at Pocono. 13th race of the year for the ARCA Racing Series. Justin Allison playing a different strategies than some of those other drivers that qualified up front. The race leader, 7 laps remaining, and that's Will Kimmel right behind him.
Justin Allison been around racing his whole life. His grandfather raced, his great uncle Bobby raced. His great uncle Bobby won here 3 times. Will Kimmel's been around racing his whole life. His grandfather, Bill Kimmel, raced in the ARCA Racing Series. His dad was a part of so many championships with Uncle Frank, and here they are, racing for the win.
Both of them third-generation drivers competing at one of the great tracks you'll see throughout the year. Pocono Raceway, been so good to the ARCA Racing Series.
There's Brennan Poole, led so much of this race here. They elected to stay out, maybe thought rain was coming, had to pit under green. And how about right here, there's a 25 of Justin Boston. He's up to the 5th spot, and right behind him, that 86, Nick Igdalski, going for career best here. Part of the management team, along with his brother Brandon, for Pocono Raceway. Doing an outstanding job. We talked about it earlier. Always runs well here. Never got the finish he deserved, Ray.
Yeah, Phil, how about this? Last spring, he was running 6th, and then he got crashed by a slow car. Then in the fall, came back and was running in the top 5 again. They had a problem on pit road. And this year in the spring, he was running 5th once again, and they cut a tire with 5 laps to go. They just can't seem to get any luck. They've had top 5 cars each and every time, but they couldn't get the finish. Can he do it today?
Well, we hope so. As long as this race stays green here. 6 laps to go for our leader, Justin Allison. Nick Igdalski looking for a career best here.
He's running 6th. 7th right now, we should mention, is Mason Mitchell. Started on the pole, led 8 laps today, primed to take over the championship lead with the problems that Grant Enfinger had getting involved in that crash with Matt Tifft and Frank Kimmel. But Mitchell, who played the same strategy as Brennan Poole, and also Justin Boston, not able to make up as much ground, perhaps lost some on the pit lane. He's 7th at this stage of the race.
5 to go for these two guys right here. We're battling for this lead. Don't you love when you see guys racing for that win for the very first time? And one of them, I think, is going to get it. Will a little bit wide that time on exit for Will. But remember, the caution flag comes out. That changes the entire complexion of this race. We have right now 9 cars on the lead lap. The 55 of Cody Coughlin is our last car on the lead lap.
What's happening in the 69 camp right now, Ray?
Well, Adam, you remember back a couple years ago at Salem, Will Kimmel got a 2nd place run there. That's been his career best, but they've been so close many times to having a shot at win. This may be their best one tonight. You see his dad, Bill, on the left. But it's kind of funny, each and every week when I come in the garage, I start writing down what each team have brought for a chassis. Well, the car that Will Kimmel has is chassis number 320. It came from the Robert Yates Racing stable. But it's their only car, so every time I walk by, I go by Bill or I go by Will and I say, hey, how's 320? They go, oh, it's good this week. It's a good car.
Bill Kimmel, a part of so many wins as a crew chief atop the pit box for his brother Frank. It means a little bit more to him today, doesn't it?
Certainly does here, and I know how much they've worked and how hard they have worked to try to get Will. Really struggled with funding with this team, only running part-time right now with Will, but every time they tee it up, they've been competitive here. Maybe today's the day.
Justin Allison leads. Will Kimmel is 2nd. Tom Hessert is up to 3rd. Brennan Poole, Justin Boston complete the top 5. The leaders coming down the front straightaway here at Pocono. 3 laps remaining in the ModSpace 125, and I would guess the anxiety in the cockpit starting to build.
Certainly is, and we saw some lap traffic that could come into play in front of these guys. There were 2 or 3 cars there right in front of these 2 leaders. Going to get by the one, looked like that's Ed Pompa right there in the 10 car. Going to get by him easily before they get to the tunnel turn. Ed's doing a nice job right now running in the 12th spot.
And doing a really good job here of staying out of the way of the leaders. You don't want to jeopardize something here. And catching lap traffic in the tunnel turn, not ideal. They split the lap machine there. Justin Allison maintaining the top spot, but I think Kimmel gained on him.
Give the advantage to Will Kimmel. He's getting up close to him. If he can get close to him, loosen him up a little bit.
Off of turn 3. Back down the long front straightaway here at Pocono, coming to 2 laps to go. The nerve starting to show on the face of Bill Kimmel. His kid looking for his first win, running second right now to Justin Allison.
Justin Allison has been so solid here. He found himself after the pit stops being 4 seconds behind Will Kimmel. He was able to chase him down, got in front, has run consistent lap times each and every lap. He's maintained that about 4 to 6/10 of a second difference right now over Will Kimmel. He's got a lap and a half more to do it.
Across the tunnel turn, the short chute that connects turn 2 and turn 3 here at Pocono.
I believe Will Kimmel's a little bit better in turn 3 than Justin Allison. Let's see what he can do with him here. Doesn't look like he's gaining anything right now.
Safely off of turn 3. White flag in the air. 1 lap remains for Justin Allison to get it done for the first time in his career. And if he does so, it would be the 18th time in the last 18 races here at Pocono we've seen a different winner.
Remember, the ARCA Racing Series will not finish under caution. Even though the white flag has been displayed, if the caution were to come out now, we would have a green-white checker.
You see the advantage for Justin Allison. Across the tunnel turn. And over to turn 3. Reality perhaps starting to set in for Bill Kimmel. Think about the big names that have won here in ARCA. Ryan Newman, Casey Mears, Joey Logano, Ty Dillon, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, all have taken the checkered flag in an ARCA race at Pocono. You can add an Allison to that list. Today, Justin going to get it done. For the first time in his career, Justin Allison, a winner at Pocono.
What a happy crew down there. And I know there's a happy grandfather somewhere. That's car owner Howard Bixton standing on the wall. Bixman.
Davey Allison in his career won 8 times. Bobby once in ARCA competition.
Riding along across the start finish line with Justin Boston, our 5th place finisher.
And the celebration for Justin Allison. So good here when ARCA teams tested prior to the June race. Everyone knew he would be a player, and he was. Finished 5th in June. We told you the following week went to Michigan, finished 3rd. The only 2 times he's finished in the top 5 in his career. Today, making his 8th career start, and it pays dividends. For the first time, he's going to get the checkered flag.
Great strategy, though, by Howard Bixman and his team. They took advantage of the caution flags that we had early to come down pit road. They pitted on lap number 18. They knew they were good to go to the end. They had plenty of fuel. They fulfilled the requirement of pitting before lap 40, and we went green the rest of the way.
3rd generation driver. We talked about that Allison name and all it's meant to stock car racing over the years, and hopefully somewhere right now, grandfather Donnie is watching his grandson celebrate victory, making the donuts on the long front straightaway here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania.
I'm sure the most special day in that young man's life right here at Pocono.
A lot of parity when you look at the drivers that have been able to grace victory lane at Pocono. Justin Allgaier won the championship when he got the victory here in 2008. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Rookie of the Year at the Sprint Cup level a season ago. 2-time nationwide champion.
Ty Dillon won here in his championship year in the ARCA Racing Series.
What's this feeling like, Phil?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Words cannot express, and I'm sure when we get to talk to Justin Allison, he will be virtually speechless.
Great run today for Will Kimmel. Came up 2nd, but they also played a wonderful strategy. Tom Hesser to the top 5, Brennan Poole, Justin Boston. Igdalski ended up 6th. Mason Mitchell started on the pole with 7th. Austin Wayne Self was 8th. Cody Coughlin stayed in the top 10, 9th here this afternoon. And Michael Lear, a good qualifying run, had that contact, if you remember, going into turn 1 a while ago. But he finishes in the 10th position, the first car, 1 lap down.
We talked about Grant Enfinger's problems early on, that accident. He will end up with a 26th place finish, and that will give our point leader back to Mason Mitchell with a pretty substantial lead now, right now, unofficially at about 75 points.
Came into the weekend down 40, picked up 15 of that when he won the pole here earlier today. And with the problems that Grant Enfinger had, Mason Mitchell now finds himself back on top, a 75-point lead. And Frank Kimmel ends up today 25 laps down in the 20th position. Justin Allison trying to get unbuckled, and the emotion of it all takes some time when you get to victory lane for the first time. Let's join the celebration. Down to Jim Trado in victory lane.
He's pulled the earbuds out. He's getting that Hoosier bandana on in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Winner's hat is going on. Justin Allison, it says victory lane across the back. And this young man at 21 years of age is showing the world the next generation of the Alabama gang is here and in victory lane at Pocono Raceway. Justin's out of the car. Crew Chief Teddy Brown, a big embrace. Justin, how does it feel right now?
I don't even have words, man. You know, I knew we had a good car. We struggled a little bit tight, but, you know, I can't thank these guys enough. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. I got to thank Havico, Rush Racing Products, Tornado Alley, Team BCR, Howard, Teddy, Sam, Steve, Jesse, everybody. My dad, my grandpa, you know, this is awesome.
What about this season? You got 2 more races left.
We're going to try to go win those too. I mean, that's all I can say.
Kentucky, Kansas next on his list. Justin Allison, we know for sure, a winner here at Pocono.
And we'll be with him every step of the way. The next time you see us here on Fox Sports 1 with the ARCA Racing Series, we'll be at Kentucky next month as we look at the updated standings. We told you, Mason Mitchell now 75 in front of Grant Enfinger.
Yeah, what a tough break for Grant Enfinger, but Mason Mitchell was solid all day. End up with a top 10 finish and grabs a point lead back.
Teams now go short track racing next weekend. They're at Berlin. We were an hour late getting started due to Mother Nature, but it was worth the wait. Justin Allison able to go to victory lane for the first time in his career. Congratulations to him. With Phil Parsons, I'm Adam Alexander. We'll see you next time. Now a special edition of NASCAR Race Hub.